So a forge created solely for the purpose of crafting the finest moonlit weapons in all of Tamriel. Created just so one day, a random hero of the present times would stumble upon it and figure out how to use it for their own benefit. That hero is me, or so I thought, until I arrived at it and slaughtered all the bandits there, only to walk up the stairs, take a couple of corners and find Maik wearing bandit clothes, already at the forge? What? Bro, did you become the king of the bandits for the second time? God damn it, man, we've talked about this. You can't just decide to become the king of the bandits like that. It's too random and weird. Also, you work for, I mean with me. You still have the dagger from the last video, and you dare take it out on me? Bruv, I'm about to foos you in the next week. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, let's try and solve a mystery. Teach some lore and exist. Welcome, my Elder Scrolls loving, Maik adoring, cave dwelling, lunar using, weapon crafting friends to another Elder Scrolls video. I'm your host, Bandit King Maik, and today we answer another one of those legendary questions. Well, it's more my own modern take on the subject because I enjoy researching mysteries and random stuff in games, even if we don't have a lot of stuff to go off of, but I will do my best and hopefully you will learn something along the way too. We will be looking into some theories too, maybe, hopefully, and just trying to figure out what the heck this forge was created for, and maybe even some sort of clue as to who did it. So buckle up and chillax, my friends, as we delve right into this. So first we are going to talk about what the heck the Lunar Forge is at its simplest form, because I'm sure almost all of you watching are aware of what this unmarked location is, or at least where it is, because it's not hard to miss. In the Whiterun hold, hidden in the back of Silent Moon's camp, ironic name right, is the Lunar Forge, being used by a couple of bandits who by now you will have decimated all of because they are bandits and we don't like bandits. Skyrim has a couple of unique forges scattered around it. The Sky Forge is one example, and we've already done all the detective work we could on that forge, but today we look at one with even less information on it. People have asked thousands of questions across forums on how to use this forge, or who made the forge, or what the heck is the forge, but there really isn't any concrete answers to any of this because we really don't have an answer. And even after all the research I did for this, I still don't really fully understand what Bethesda were thinking when they created this forge. We have one single book with barely a page and a half of information, and that's it. No NPCs, no other threads of info are scattered anywhere else in the game. Even checking within the creation kit itself will tell you that this is it. It's a real shame because the more time I spent looking into this forge and trying to discover anything about it, the more it occurred to me that my day is only going to end in disappointment, which by the end of it, it did. But for those who have never put a whole pile of thought into it or tried to figure out for yourself, the Lunar Forge is extremely special, for it allows the smith to craft lunar weapons, which are weapons hit with Skyrim's moonlight. The two Skyrim moons, Massor and Secunda, when aligned in the exact position in the skies, allow the user to craft these kinds of weapons, and so it has been thought for 8 long years that somewhere, at some point, the player could. So you know what it is, but who might have created it? Let's have a little bit of delving into that book we can find at the forge, and I will say there is one or two things that I discovered when doing this that you will know by the end of it that are actually pretty goddamn interesting and also really funny, so stick around. So the book is called Notes on the Lunar Forge and was written by an anonymous writer, which just makes our job even more difficult than it needs to be. Help out here, Todd. Give me something to go on here. Some person or some place. But the book is broken up into 2 parts, the Forge section and the Lunar Weapons section. So what can we gather from the Forge section? Well, we learned that whoever wrote this did not create the Forge and merely stumbled into it. They themselves were trying to figure out how the Forge worked and couldn't, but with enough trial and error managed to not only discover how to craft lunar weapons, but also put complete and utter false information into their notes. The Forge section just explains to us that the writer doesn't know how they get the enchantment on them, but there is a connection between the appearance of the moons and the weapon's power when somehow connected together as one. The interesting part of this book is the Lunar Weapons section, as this entire section is dedicated to the idea that once the moons are high above the forged lunar weapons gain an additional ability on top of the extra damage. The book states states, the lunar weapons take on a vampire-like ability, transferring a small amount of health from the victim to the user, which for any normal person who plays this game understands this is the absorb health spell. However, taking a simple read of any lunar weapons description will show the player that the only effect the player has when using the weapons is the one we already know about, and that is, while the moons are out, burns the target for 10, 15 or 20 points of damage. If you use absorb health on someone, you will see the red effect from the spell. Just fight a vampire. They will use it on you, and when you hit anything with a lunar weapon, you will never see this effect because it doesn't exist. So at this point, I will 100% assume that somebody just forgot to code in the secondary effect when they wrote this book. Either way, it would have been cool to see something like this work alongside its already cool damage effect. So the big question here is, can I use the Lunar Forge? And to that I will say with almost 95% certainty, no. I do not think the Lunar Forge can be used. Some forum posts have spoken about it working, others haven't, but it doesn't. There is no video outside of mods showing this forge to work, and I even did my own bit of thing. I spent a couple of in-game weeks resting and staying up during the nights and the different lunar cycles, and even when I seen both moons out just at the right time, just to try and craft these weapons, no lunar effect. If it does exist, it's extremely specific and might only be at certain months in game, but I don't have the patience, willpower or time to spend an in-game year trying out every single day for something we all know doesn't work, and I'm pretty sure just delving a little bit into the creation kit itself confirms this. However, there is a plus to all this, and that is the Silent Moons enchant, which you can get by disenchanting any of the lunar weapons you do find inside the Lunar Forge. Remember, they also respawn every couple of weeks too. This makes it easier for you to stock up on lunar weapons since you can't craft them, but a neat thing with the enchantment is it's the only enchantment in Skyrim to actually call itself an enchantment at the Arcane Enchanter. The enchantment itself has 3 levels of power, depending on the player level, and these correspond to 3 different damage values ranging from 10 to 15 to 20 damage when the moon is high above you looking down at your stupid face. A thing to know is, with the lunar weapons and this enchantment, is that the game makes the enchantment work through the in-game time, meaning that your lunar enchantments will always work between 9 PM to 5 AM, no matter what. No weather, location or lunar phase will change this. Simple fact. So it's something that kind of takes away a little bit of the special feeling of using the enchantment, but sure, look, what can you do? The game has to do its thing, you know. A neat thing I discovered when messing around with the forge is that when you stand on any forge, bar the Sky Forge, it slowly increases your destruction skill when you're on fire. It takes a long ass time and it isn't worth it. And again, you have to be on fire, so you need to keep jumping and doing it, but be careful because the flame effect stacks and you could actually off yourself quite quickly without realizing it. So we have no idea who made the forge. We could maybe guess the old Nords or old elves, but that would be too easy, but also make a lot of sense. We know how to use the lunar weapons and gain their enchantments for our own use. We know exactly how to use the enchantment, but there's a really fun side to all of this that I discovered and realized how many Skyrim players actually don't realize this is a thing, because I barely figured it out myself. The lunar weapon and Silent Moon's enchantment don't work at all. Have you been using lunar weapons at any point since 2012 and thought to yourself, wow, I really enjoy using lunar weapons at nighttime? Well, stop, because they don't work. Patch 1.7.7 came out in 2012 and broke the lunar weapons. The damage enchantment doesn't work anymore and hasn't in years, and I really hope somebody watching this didn't know this, because I mean, I'm kind of okay with ruining your day. Let's be honest, this will ruin your day, alright? This has ruined my day, alright? And I didn't know this before I researched. The game for some reason doesn't register the enemy's health with the enchantment, but instead registers their weapon speed, so while you might be slowing them down, you aren't hurting them in the slightest, and god, this is so funny for some reason. You will still see the visual effect on the enemy as if you were hitting them, but this means diddly squat as it's not working. You can even check through console commands and other ways to see damage values outputted. It no worky. I don't know, this is just really funny to me. I've used these weapons and not realized that they weren't working at all. How do Bethesda manage to break things with new patches? They are still doing it. Remember the lockpicks in Fallout 76? It's nice to see 8 years don't change anything with Bethesda, and I can't wait until the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and deletes my game for changing the difficulty. That will be my new favorite bug to use forever. We could go into theories, but the only ones I've seen are thoughts I've had myself, and that's on the Lunar Forge being so close to the Sky Forge, and they probably have something in common, but there just isn't enough information, even by Bethesda standards, to create a theory. There probably is still secrets I don't know about in the game that I will discover, but that will come in time. I'm pretty content with fully understanding the Lunar Forge after all this time, in the end of the decade, so I don't know about you, but I'm content. That's it for this video. I had fun researching and discovering some new things. I hope you learned something new, or at least enjoyed watching. If you did learn something new and all that jazz, maybe like the video to support me. If not, dislikes are welcome too. I'm all for freedom of speech and that, so leaving a comment for criticism or other questions we should look into would be pretty cool too, so let me know down below what's going on in the think tank. Anyways, thank you for watching my video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.